So you've talked a lot about a land rent being privatised there, and the everyday person being in hock to the banking system rather than that rent's going to the government. But really, they haven't been satisfied with just that form of rental income stream. The neoliberal paradigm has seen the privatisation of our airports and this development that you've called toll booth economies. How are you seeing that unfold, and what do you think the future is of the toll booth economy?
For a few hundred years, the financial sector made its money primarily by lending to the largest borrower, and that was government. But by about 1980, governments were pretty much loaned up. When Mexico became insolvent on its foreign debt in 1982, you had the Latin American debt bomb, and so creditors said, well, it's obvious that governments can no longer raise the foreign exchange to pay their debt by exporting more. There's only one way they can raise the foreign exchange, and that is to treat governments like you'd treat a bankrupt homeowner. You say you have to pay by selling off your assets. Selling off the family silver is what a British Prime Minister Macmillan expressed privatization as. So countries were told, directed, that you cannot get any stabilization loan, you cannot get any World Bank loan, you will be treated as a pariah, you'll be treated like Cuba or North Vietnam or the Soviet Union if you don't start to sell off your public domain and your public enterprises to creditors. Furthermore, our creditors are going to buy your assets on debt leveraged, and you're going to permit them to deduct all of the interest charges they pay, so that you will not get any tax receipts at all from the privatized utilities. The private buyers, you're going to let essentially turn your roads, your public utilities, your water system into toll booths. And you are not allowed to regulate the prices at which these water companies can charge. If you do, we will overthrow you, as we did in Chile. Governments who refused to follow the Washington Consensus. So essentially, starting at Chile with privatization at gunpoint as a dress rehearsal, they followed Thatcherism and Reaganism, forcing countries to privatize and sell off their public domain. So now the public has to pay for what it used to get for free. Its roads are being turned into toll roads. It'll have to pay for water. And the idea is that the new privatizers of the public domain will be in control of natural monopolies. And natural monopolies are what people have to use. Access to basic needs will be set at a price to absorb all of the income over subsistence. So essentially, the objective of neoliberalism is to turn populations into a neo-feudal economy, to tie people to their houses in negative equity as if they're serfs, so that they cannot sell without making the banks whole on their negative equity by a lifetime of personal indebtedness, while they have to use water, roads, and other public utilities that are unregulated at enough so that the rise in living standards will end. The neoliberal objective is to reduce populations to pure subsistence levels where any rise in income will immediately be increased in payments to monopolies. So the basic principle is what Simon Patton, the first American professor of business at the Wharton School of Economics in the 1880s, pointed out. His principle was that if you regulate any monopoly at an ability only to set prices according to the cost of production, then all of the economic surplus is going to be taken by the remaining monopolies. So that even if you regulate what the tax collector can get, then you're going to leave other monopolies in place. And this perception became the guiding force behind American antitrust regulation with the Sherman Antitrust Law of 1890, the Interstate Commerce Commission to regulate railroad fares, and the anti-monopoly legislation in the Sherman Antitrust Law, and regulation of public utilities in the United States. Neoliberalized economies are not permitted to follow the U.S. model. It's do as we say, not as we have done. They are essentially to leave their economies free for financial predators to back the privatization of natural monopolies so that whatever the natural monopolies can extract is in turn paid out as interest, because if it's not paid out as interest, then corporate raiders are going to come in and borrow the money to buy these monopolies and pledge whatever they can extract for interest and try to downsize the economy even more to extract even more, and the result is really neo-feudalism.